Hi, my name is Demis. I'm quite fast driving German, so it's always hard when people try to educate me on German highways. But other than that, I co-founded Knip around about 3 years ago, and now I know why you struggled with that one. How does it go next?
The green button in the middle.
No? Perfect. Knip is a mobile insurance broker. And what we try to figure out, or let's say the starting point why we built Knip, is, I would say, a statement of a whole generation towards insurance. A generation like myself that doesn't really know how to deal with that doesn't really know what the value is, and that don't want to deal with insurance. So we build a solution which is easy to handle in your pocket and replaces the classical brick-and-mortar insurance broker. And from our side, towards the customer and thinking customer first, there are 4 main areas where we improve the life of the customer and really bring value. So there's the overview. What do we do? The customer signs a mandate. It's kind of a mixture of a power of attorney and a servicing agreement between us and the customer, which allows us to access the insurance carrier data. So we aggregate all the data from the insurance carriers related to your policies, related to your contracts. Screen it. That's as well a hard part for us because we have to deal with incumbents, obviously, and nothing is going automatically. So what we do essentially is we scrape the policy PDFs, get the data points out that makes us able to analyze your insurance policies, and we enable you to interact with your insurance policies. But that's as well the next step. So interaction is extremely important for us. Nobody really wants to act with their policies or doesn't know how to interact because they are lying in the cellar and they are kind of either burning when the house burns down, but are not really kind of have access to them. So with Knip, you're able to interact with your insurance policies. You have them directly in your hand. You can make a claim. You can chat with your insurance broker right out of the application. You can directly call the insurance carrier if you want. So everything out of one hand in one application, basically, that makes you feel insurances and makes you happy in having someone that manages that. The third part is advice. So being a broker, our liability is to advise you on, are you insured? Are you correctly insured? Are your insurances, price-wise, are they okay? So having the data from your insurance policies and having them stripped down to the data points that we need, we developed algorithms that essentially, on the one hand, recommend you insurances that you should have in your case. In my case, being CEO of a company, I should have a law insurance. I should have additional health insurance, obviously. We have personal profiles that we build out of the policies that the customer has and as well out of the kind of behavior that the customer has with the application and recommend him the perfect insurances. And robo-advice is two-sided. So one thing is having the insurances that you need to be safe. The other thing is, having a price that makes sense for the coverage that you get. And we're caring about both things automatically, so there's no person involved in the recommendation process anymore. Fourth thing, and the thing that we kind of acknowledge is one of the things that customers value most is the live chat opportunities. When we launched this feature around about two months ago, 90% of our customer interaction shifted from phone to chat, because it's just a common way how people really interact with or want to interact with their insurance brokers. They're making claims over the chat. They're asking if they have a specific coverage and so on and so forth. So this is Knip. And I think what I wanted to point out now to go a bit deeper into where we stand is the reasons why we feel from a bold perspective deserve the award of the best InsurTech. Number one, we are market leader in Germany and Switzerland. So we have around about 20,000 active customers as of now. We manage 35 million of insurance premiums, which reflects to around about 45,000 insurance policies, and that just by launching last year in February. We are outperforming competition that, is competition and that we feel as well as competition, but still stick to, the number one pace and as well from a growth perspective, are on stage to basically outperform them. Number 3 is automation, is one of the core areas of focus of us. So if you see the front end from a customer perspective, I think everybody agrees that it's an amazing product. On the other hand, there's nothing that kind of brings the wow factor still as of now, although you have, let's say, automated recommendations. The challenge for us lies in the back end because we have to deal with all the incumbents, which are in Germany and Switzerland altogether around about 400. So how do we digitalize policies? We cannot because we get them via post. And what we've built is basically systems that scrape the policy PDFs, that read out the right attributes and the right values, and make us able to process more customers and get more, let's say, get faster growth than we've were able to get without technology overlisting. For us, I think Knip was kind of with 50 million in the Series B. We are one of the, we led the biggest Swiss FinTech financing round. And fifth, although we are a German play as of now, we are currently developing 2 more European countries, so we'll expand definitely this year. And I think all of these reasons and the product are basically the reason why I wanted to present and why we are here. So thanks for listening.
Thank you, Dennis. If I could just start with one question from my side. You and a lot of your competitors come from the German-speaking market. Can you talk a little bit about markets and maybe regulatory issues between the markets?
I think we just talked around about an hour ago about why, let's say, from a distribution point of view, startups are coming from the German angle. I think it's a huge opportunity to have, 80 million in Germany and 10 million in Switzerland and Austria as well. People that kind of have the same regulatory framework. We are insurance brokers, we are regulated as well. But I think the nice part about being a broker is that the regulatory hurdle is not too high. So we need around about 1 to 2 months in each country to go over the hurdle being a licensed and regulated insurance broker. There's kind of the knowledge that you need to put on the table of the financial regulator, and as well the kind of the finance background that they need to know. So from a regulatory point of view, Europe is quite standardized, I would say. If you go further, either US or Asia, it gets complex.
Okay, great, thank you.
Just 2 questions. How do you acquire customers? Mm-hmm. And is there a bigger long-term vision for the company beyond just being a broker?
Customer acquisition is quite standard, so we do classic performance marketing, be it Facebook, Twitter, TV a lot to get the brand in the market. So as insurance is still something that people need to trust. And having no brand, and we've seen it doing a lot of TV, conversion increases, the understanding of, you sign something in the registration process, which is, I would say, it's serious because you sign a broker mandate. And this is what people need to be educated about when we're all the startups, and we do not fight each other in Germany. So really work together and try to educate the market because we're basically going against the brick and mortar brokers and not against the carriers and not against the client in a way. Second question, basically regarding, sorry, I didn't.
So on the, you have a bigger long.
I think regarding the vision, the vision itself for Knip is to reinvent insurance experience. So we are not focused on being a broker. I think that's the entry point for us now. It's the easiest entry point that enables us to own the customer, to get the data that we need in terms of customer interaction and experience, but it's not something that we say we need to stick to the next 2 to 3 years or 2 to 5 years. So I think there are 2 ways, and Pascal mentioned it as well in the value chain that you can go. One is more on the competitive end, or let's say comparison angle, competing against the Check24s of the world by enabling the customer to close contracts immediately, and the other one is going into the underwriting by taking care of, let's say, the risk and making processes faster for the customers. And these 2 angles are the ones that we are looking at.
How are the traditional carriers responding to you because you're disrupting their captive agent network?
Let's say the feedback is more from the network, from the captive agent network, rather than from the carriers. So if you talk to the carriers, and specifically the C-level guys in the carriers, they are more or less positive about us because they feel that, let's say, the engagement with the customer finally rises. Let's say it like this. But that's more of the CEO perspective, and then you have the chief sales guy and the chief captive agent guy, and they hate us because we steal customers in a way. As we own the customer, what happens when someone registers this Knip is we take all the policies from the customer and put them onto our book. And that's the reason why, looking at the contracts that we have, in Switzerland, we're around about 40% of contractual coverage with insurance carriers. In Germany, it's a bit over 50%. But that's the reason it needs time, and I think Mark explained it as well, on the carrier side to understand what the value of Knip is towards the incumbents and insurance carriers. And, not only time, but as well pressure. Pressure comes with active customers and with growth. And this is related to time because you cannot handle 100,000 clients within a week, and this goes together. So I think the reaction, generally speaking, is positive, but we have our pain points as well.
And given your experience in the Swiss and German markets, which will be the next two markets that you will conquer?
European.
Nice try.
Wow. As you invested in one of the competitors, let's say European.
I would have a question regarding the operation, and you mentioned that you still deal with the incumbents that send you paper in a PDF format, which is very electronic and digital. So when do you think you can process the contracts that you get sent totally without human touch?
Without human touch is tricky. We process them automatically with the accuracy of around about 60%. So every contract needs a double check currently, just to make sure that the contract data is correct. And I think if you see, Allianz, for example, I think you have in Germany 25 products that you cover, so 25 different types of policies. And what you cannot do, because it's not, let's say it's not long-term driven, is you cannot template them. Because policy changes, what you need to do is essentially data science over policy data. So there are 3 200 euros, 100 euros, and 50 euros somewhere in the contract, and you assume that the highest number in the contract, where euros up front or in the back, is the policy premium. This is the logic. Very simple example that you have to implement to be able to, as well from a small carrier perspective. We have carriers where we have 2-3 contracts, and we do not template all their policies, what we need to do. So I think, never having any person involved in processing the data, I think will not happen. But we currently, out of our 120 employees, I would say 30 are working only on data entry and back office. I think you can cut them down definitely to 10 to 15 with 3 times at least the scale that we have as of now in 1 to 2 years.
Great, thank you. If there are any questions from the audience, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next pitch.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.